What if I told you that a celebratory banquet, a mere party with laughter, sumptuous dishes, and cheerful music, ended up toppling an entire kingdom? Stop scrolling, because this astonishing tale is going to leave you questioning how tiny sparks ignite giant fires in history. Welcome to another enthralling episode of Historical Hidden Gems. Today, we are diving into an incredible incident that shook the foundations of the Byzantine Empire, known as the Banquet of Balkh. All right, let's set the scene. The year was 705. The Byzantine Empire, a behemoth of its time, was flourishing and faltering in equal measure. Its ruler, Emperor Justinian II, known affectionately or sarcastically as Rhino Tomatus, was as ambitious as they come. Oh, and here's an important tidbit. This wasn't Justinian's first reign. You see, he'd been ousted once before, and his nose was cut off as a mark of disgrace. Ouch, right? But hey, prosthetic noses were a thing, even in those days, and Justinian made a comeback. This banquet, this fateful feast, sprouted from his burning desire not just to rule, but to go down in history as one who could never be defeated. Now, let's zoom into that particular day. Justinian wanted to celebrate his supposedly unshakable authority and, honestly, his bruised ego. So, he ordered a banquet to be held in Balkh, inviting noblemen, generals, foreign dignitaries, and, essentially, anyone who mattered politically or socially. Lavish wouldn't even begin to describe this event. We're talking gold goblets, exotic meats, mesmerizing performers. It was the Instagram-worthy event of ancient times. Now ask yourself, what's the one thing you avoid if your empire is riddled with unrest and your subjects are unhappy? Hosting a flashy party, especially one that screams opulence and entitlement. But Justinian? Well, subtlety was never his strong suit. Guests clinked their glasses, laughter filled the hall, and the emperor reveled in the fleeting illusion of loyalty and admiration. But little did Justinian know, this banquet was precisely what the growing resistance against him needed: a visible, undeniable proof of his disconnect from the common people. You see, outside the gilded halls of Balkh, the citizens of the empire were barely scraping by. Famine, heavy taxation, and unfulfilled promises had turned the once loyal public against the emperor. And just like that, the swirling gossip and murmurs of dissent found their momentum. Soldiers in the imperial army whispered to each other about misplaced priorities. Generals exchanged skeptical glances. Esteemed noblemen began doubting their allegiance. The feast continued late into the night. Stories claim that Justinian, emboldened by wine, started listing his achievements, both real and wildly exaggerated, with an air of smug arrogance. He promised new campaigns and conquests that made even his closest allies shift uncomfortably in their seats. And then came a moment that sealed his fate, a toast. Justinian raised his goblet, proclaiming, "No man, not any army, nor even fate itself may challenge my reign." It was dramatic, theatrical, and, unfortunately, a colossal misstep. Those words solidified the brewing rebellion into something tangible, something actionable. A mixture of ego and hubris, served on a golden platter, had drawn the line in the sand. By the time day broke, the seeds of betrayal were firmly planted. Letters were secretly sent, alliances formed, plans set into motion. One by one, his allies began defecting. Provinces went rogue, rumors spread like wildfire. The emperor was deluded. His banquet, proof of his disregard for the suffering populace. And so, Justinian's days as emperor were numbered, all thanks to a single, ill-timed party. But here's the twist. Where most emperors might have seen the revolt coming, Justinian was astonishingly oblivious. When news of uprisings reached his court weeks later, he dismissed them as the work of ungrateful fools. A critical mistake. It wasn't long before a strategic coalition of rebels, soldiers, and discontented provinces surrounded the emperor. Records describe it vividly. His kingdom crumbled beneath him, one city at a time. Balkh itself became a symbol of his failure, and the very nobles who dined at his banquet turned their backs on him. Within months, Justinian's empire was no more. Now, let's take a step back and marvel at the irony. An event intended to solidify his legacy became the very reason it collapsed. Historians today see the Banquet of Balkh as a textbook example of leadership gone horribly, tragically wrong. A lesson in empathy, hubris, and the dangerous detachment of power. So, let me leave you with this thought. History isn't just important for remembering dates, battles, and treaties. It's a reservoir of lessons, warnings really, about the ripple effects of our actions. The Banquet of Balkh teaches us that sometimes what seems like a harmless celebration can unravel a kingdom, a career, or a life. And now, your turn. Comment below. If you were Justinian's advisor and saw the public discontent brewing, what would you have done? If you think history never repeats itself, just look around. Every banquet, every choice, every small decision we make carries the weight of potential consequences. Until next time, stay curious and remember, history's most valuable lessons often hide in its smallest, most unexpected moments. Catch you in the next episode of Historical Hidden Gems. Goodbye for now.